start with the introduction.
Yeah, that is the first thing on the list. Welcome to Cardboard, the board game podcast.
I'm Devon Body.
And I'm Steve Davis.
This is the podcast for people with things to do, but choose us anyways.
So thank you all so much for downloading, subscribing, and most importantly, for listening.
We really enjoyed recording last week's episode, Clue.
Honestly, it was a blast.
Thanks again to Johnny and Jessica who joined us. Well, they didn't contribute much, but they're fun to hang out with.
We gotta redo that. We're both supposed to laugh.
Look, I didn't read the line, okay? Shut up.
Right, then let's just do it again.
While they didn't contribute much, they were fun to hang out with.
And as you know, we're now on iTunes and Google Play.
And we'll soon be on Spotify. Or possibly we're there already, I don't know.
Or you can go to cardboardpodcast.games and download all our episodes directly.
Or if you have a different podcast app, you can find us there too.
Make sure to follow us on all our social media. We have a Facebook group. It's at facebook.com/cardboardpodcast.
And we have an Instagram account at Cardboard Podcast.
And one day we're going to update them. Just you watch.
All right, on to the show.
I think you mean and on to the show.
I stand by what I said.
And on to the show.
What do we got today, Steve?
Today we're going to cover a board game.
A board game? We
Well,
do that all the time.
You know what? Then let's cover a card game.
Card games, that's where you got me.
Yeah, well, we did that before too, but we'll do it anyway.
We did?
Well,
we
maybe.
didn't do card game. What? They don't know how time works. Don't worry.
No, okay. Yeah. You know what? I'll just put this one out first.
Problem solved.
Problem solved. Well, in the meantime, let's talk about Monopoly Deal.
Monopoly Deal.
So, have any of you ever played Monopoly?
I have.
Oh, I haven't.
Really?
Well, I had a whole bit
Good to
going
know.
there, but that didn't work now. Okay. No, of course, everyone's played Monopoly, and either they hate it with a passion or love it.
Or love to hate it. Or hate to love it.
We all love to hate it. Or at least we love to hate the people we love
Yes.
while playing it.
After a game, you tend to have a few less friends and a few family feuds to work out.
Yeah, and some of those never actually get worked out.
Nope.
Nope.
Because they just wouldn't let you not pay the rent.
Or if you forget about the issues you had, you'll just play the game again next year, and what happens?
They
Family
keep
feud
stealing money from the bank when nobody's looking. That's what happens.
Yeah, well, that's called a legitimate strategy. I'm sorry, all right? Get over it. That was like 6 years ago.
Still hurts.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, but Monopoly Deal is nothing like that. It's a reimagination of a classic board game.
Honestly, it's a really fun, cut down, shortened version of the game, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, this one definitely does not take all night to play.
No. Honestly, this is one of the games we've played most out of our entire collection. We would sit down and play probably like 4 or 5 games in the span of an hour or two.
Yeah, it's really compact and really easy to learn.
Yeah, it's a real quick pickup time, especially if you know Monopoly, which again most people do. It's not even loosely based. It's pretty closely based on the rules of Monopoly, just in a card game form.
Just a lot less dice rolling.
Yes, by a lot less, we mean there's absolutely no dice rolling, which is handy.
That's what I said.
You never said handy. I said handy.
I'm pretty sure I said exactly what you said.
Probably. I can't remember. And there's no way we'll ever be able to know.
Nope, not without a time machine or something. Yeah, that would be pretty sweet. All right, let's get into some
All
details.
right, let's talk about the game.
History.
Weird thing with this game is the history of this game is that it was released in 2008
By Hasbro.
by Hasbro, and that's the history of the game.
Yeah, it's Monopoly.
It's-
re-released.
Yeah, so we're not going to get into the history of Monopoly because that is honestly stealing from ourselves content from a future possible episode.
So stay tuned for an episode on Monopoly
Yes, next week.
next week.
Next week.
But next week from the week before we post it.
Yes. We're predating this.
Yes. This definitely came before Monopoly.
Yes. Yes. But yeah, really, there's actually no history to talk about. Really, it was, a game developed by Hasbro, so there's not really anything to go into. It was, I'm sure, created by some employees in an office room,
Who
and
said, let's make more money from Monopoly.
yeah, exactly. So the history we're really interested in, especially, is the
The journey from humble game maker to successful tycoon.
yeah, like the guy or girl that had an idea about a game and created it,
And
like
then slowly cornered the market on all games.
yes, forever.
Making it so that no one else could buy a game except from them.
But it's honestly like Monopoly, which was created by Elizabeth Maggie in 1903.
Shut up.
Oh, no! I'm stealing from our future episode.
What was that?
Shut
Like
up.
dinging.
And with some dinging. Don't worry about it. Don't let them peek behind the curtain.
All right, that does it for history.
That's it for history. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you next week. Oh, wait. No, we have more episode.
Right, the actual game.
All right. So next we'll talk about in a segment that could have a better name, but I can't think of one. Popular media.
Popular media and how this game affects it. A textbook by Duane Body and Stephen Davis. All right, so
Chapter 1.
introduction to the title of this book.
Which you can't remember already. Okay.
Popular media.
Devon, you did all the research for this, so I think this is your segment.
But I mean, there's not that much info in the pop culture to go about. So Monopoly Deal,
Well, popular culture.
yeah, pop culture.
Yeah, I said
is-
popular media. But popular culture is way better. Hold on, guys. I gotta change the notepad document. Done.
Bam.
It's official. Now let's
Alright.
rewind the podcast.
And
Popular
now to
culture.
culture.
Oh, it's
There's
bad.
not too much to go on, but Monopoly Deal has had a little bit of a splash. There is a video game version of Monopoly Deal
a
available.
video game,
Yes, a video game.
like an app.
Like an app, but for a game console.
Good way to put it. Wow.
Yeah, you'd think that a little card game wouldn't be something you would play on a game console. But
Well-
since it's over the internet, everyone doesn't see your hand and you play with your friends or strangers.
Well, it's also weird because it's like Monopoly Deal is already just based off of a very popular, or arguably the most popular board game of all time.
That already has a bunch of video game versions.
Yeah, so it's funny that this mini spin-off now has a video game.
Yeah, it's like full circle.
Yeah, I didn't think it was that popular a game.
But
Though for a while it was in every store. Like
Right,
when
when
we
it
had
was new?
Target, Walmart, Toys R Us, grocery stores, it was
yeah,
everywhere.
wherever they sold just playing cards, they would have Monopoly Deal.
Yeah. It would be in like side caps at the end of an aisle.
And
just
that
sitting there.
Battleship game we never picked up.
We need to pick that one up. We had almost all the Hasbro card games. I should pick up a new Monopoly deal too, because those cards are like falling apart.
Yeah. Little worse for wear.
It just comes from extensive playing.
Which is something that you can be proud of.
Yes. All right. So it's got a video game. What else does it have?
There's also 4 other versions of Monopoly Deal available.
Really?
Yes, there are 3 different city-themed games. So you have a version with London, Berlin, and Paris.
Oh, so they just changed like the name of the
Yeah, they'll change the
properties.
names of the properties
Okay,
to
gotcha. Yeah.
match the city.
That's kind of like the original expansion for Monopoly with
Yeah.
the different cities.
Where you have the North America version and the Europe version,
Yeah.
which is cool. And then the other one is a Disney version.
Really?
So the same concept, just replace the names of the properties with Disney characters and places.
Huh. I like that. That's cool. Though I also kind of find it funny that you replace the name of the properties with a character from Disney. But then it's like, well, we've just lost the entire concept of the Monopoly game altogether.
I mean, Monopoly's been doing that for a while.
Yeah, it's just kind
As
of
soon
funny
as they
to
got
me.
into cats.
Unless the Disney one has Disney locations.
It might.
That'd actually be kind of cool.
I didn't get a chance to look at all the cards.
That would be cool, actually. Though then it kind of takes away some of the luster off the Disney universe where it's like Goofy's paying rent to stay in, Disney Castle or whatever it is.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
It's not his castle.
no.
He just works there.
Then why is he paying rent? If he lives there, that makes more sense. Oh, well, there's also the Millionaire one as well,
Yes, there is.
which I think I had or have.
And then immediately misplaced.
Me, it
or
misplaced
never
because
had.
it wasn't that great. It
Same
just
game, different values.
though the values were already in the millions anyway.
Yep. Just bump it up even higher.
Well, that's a weird thing about the game is that they changed the values into the millions. Now, like, they did that in an actual board game Monopoly. They changed it into millions. And that actually made it a bit harder because you weren't used to those denominations.
Though I guess you could just learn new numbers.
Yeah, but it was,
Yeah.
it's
But now you
over
suddenly
the
need to
time
think.
span of one board game isn't long enough really to really change your entire mental construct of value.
Especially when there's years of learning behind that.
Exactly. But to that point in Monopoly Deal, it's all in millions. I didn't really... It's different enough that the different values were understandable.
Yeah, it's a little easier for this to sink in when you're paying somebody $1 million in rent when you owe them $5 million in rent. You feel good about that.
Yeah, and literally $1 million is the lowest denomination. And so if you owe someone $1 million in rent, A, that's a pretty low value rent, and B, you literally would just hand them one card that says 1 million on it. It's like, so it's actually pretty straightforward. Though you did say that they actually had a couple apps out there.
Well, actually, those apps were connected to those 4 different versions. They added a new mode, which after every turn, you could draw a chance card,
Oh, that's really cool.
which would be a little tricky to do in the physical card version.
Since there are no chance cards.
Yes.
Okay, that's actually really cool. I like that. All right. Well, that does it for popular culture. I guess we'll move on to rules.
Alright, the part everyone was waiting for, the rules of the game.
Everyone's favorite segment of the podcast where we talk for half an hour about rules.
And how to play.
That's not what's going to happen.
It could be.
Well, we're just going to
Except
talk
it's really, really
quick.
simple.
Yeah.
Alright, so Monopoly Deal. Each player starts with 5 cards. Got that? Shuffle
hold
the
on.
deck.
Hold on. I'm typing it down.
Shuffle the deck. Give
Hold on.
everyone 5
Hold
cards. You can play with
Car-
2 to 5 players.
Come on. Hold on.
Those aren't even words.
Okay, the
Wait, that
player
one's a word.
starts with how many cards?
8. I said 8.
8 cards.
I said 5.
Wait, what?
Ha ha.
Hold on.
I'm not sure how you were
Hold
spelling
on.
8. Why did you have to delete so many
5
times?
cards.
Alright, and then at the start of your turn, you draw 2 cards. I mean, I guess you can decide who goes first.
Wait, hold on. At the start of
Your turn.
your
turn.
Quiet, don't throw me up.
At the start of your
Wait,
turn.
quiet. At
You didn't have to delete the whole thing.
the start
I've got more to
of
say.
your
Whenever you're ready.
turn. Hold on. I need to take notes. You brought all the research. I didn't do any research.
Well, it's not gonna
Oh,
help.
I just started typing what I was saying.
It's not gonna help you after we're done recording. Well, anywho.
Turn. Draw. Okay, I'm done with this joke. 2.
It doesn't sound like you're done with this joke.
Cards.
All right. Got it.
Enter.
Oh, you just deleted the whole
Oh,
thing.
okay. Can you start again?
And on your turn, you can play up to 3 cards. So you draw 2 cards, and you can play up to 3 cards.
Yes.
Eventually, this means your hand can end up going to 0, depending on what cards you draw and what you play. If you ever end up with 0 cards, at the start of your next turn, you draw 5 cards.
Which is always kind of cool, because it's like, normally you're just drawing 2 cards. So it's kind of handy to get down to 0 cards, because then next turn, boom, 5 new cards.
Yep, but you also have to keep in mind, if you are drawing new cards, the max hand size is 7.
That's right. So you can't end your turn with more than 5 cards?
With more than 7.
Oh, so you can get up to 9 cards.
Yes, and then you'd have to play 2 of them or discard.
Right, okay. At the end of the turn, you can never have more than 7, basically. Okay,
Yep.
That's cool. Hold on.
No, just stop. No one wants to hear you type.
It's not about hearing me type. I'm just taking notes.
Notes are for the weak, like me.
Why
and my
is it
paper
that
notes.
only the listeners get to learn from our podcast? I need to learn these rules too. Oh, I just started typing what I was saying again.
That's what's gonna happen. Gotta pay attention. Now you ask, why am I playing all of these cards when I don't even know how to win?
I know how to win.
You know how to win?
Yeah.
How do you win?
Well, that's why I'm on the podcast, so I can teach people how to play.
Well, enlighten us.
Basically, you win by having 3 full...
Monopolies!
Yes. So, I can't think of any of the territories, but like Park Place... Territories. Properties, thank you. Could be a territory. You don't know how big these areas are. I mean, aside from the fact that they're actual streets. Like High Park and Park Place is a whole set. Is it
Yep.
High Park? Park Place and Boardwalk.
There you go.
Park Place and Boardwalk are a whole set. So if you have that plus 2 other full sets, which typically are 3 properties, you win.
Yep.
But we
Included
didn't
in
cover
those properties
at all how to get properties. All we talked about was drawing.
drawing cards and playing cards.
Yep.
That's how you start.
That is how you start. But we need to know how to play. So we've covered how to start and how to finish. But how do we play?
All right, so each deck of Monopoly Deal contains 110 cards. In those 110 cards, there's 4 reference cards. These are quick and easy ways to remember how to play the game. Give one of these to each player if possible. There's 28 properties cards. These are all properties that you need to win the game. There are 11 wild cards. These complement the property cards and make it a little easier to get the right combination that you need. There's also 20 money cards for paying people off and keeping them off your back. There's 13 pay rent cards for getting money from the other players. And 34 action cards, which let you take special actions to help you win.
So I think kind of a fun thing to talk about would be some of these fun cards.
Why, of course. Let's talk about Baltic Avenue. Baltic Avenue is a property in Monopoly.
Hold on.
This is one of the least expensive properties in Monopoly over the years.
I've gone into full caps. Least expensive.
And it's usually the color brown.
Oh! Okay, brown's going into lowercase though.
What? That's the most important part about Baltic Avenue.
Okay, hold on. Let me go back and change it then.
Except for when it's purple. I think it's purple sometimes. In this game, it's brown.
Brown! Alright. Okay, let's talk about how to play. Let's talk about how to actually play. So, basically, you draw 2 cards. You have 7 cards now. And you can play up to 3 cards. So you have, Devon mentioned property cards. Devon mentioned money cards. And then there are action cards, which Devon also mentioned. I don't know why I didn't say he didn't mention those.
Because I clearly didn't mention them.
You did say that there were like 27 or something of those cards.
Yep.
Anyway, a property card just gets set out in front of you, and kind of like your play area is right in front of you. You put your property cards there. So those are all the properties that you own. Money cards.
Face up, mind you.
Face up, yes. Everything's face up. Money cards go into either a pile, stack, or spread out in front of you, just maybe off to the side. That's your money. If the money or property or card is not on the table, it is not in play. So if someone charges you rent, you can't take a money card from your hand. It comes from the pile. If you are trying to make a trade for a property, or you have to pay somebody a property, you can't take it from your hand. It comes from the table.
Yeah, if it's in your hand, it's not in play.
Exactly. And lastly, our action cards. And action cards have obviously a bunch, maybe not obviously, but have a bunch of different effects. For instance, forced deal. Let's talk about forced deal. You can swap a property card with one other player as long as it's not part of a full set of properties. So basically, you get to make a trade with them and they have no say in it.
Unless they just say no by playing a just say no card.
There's the just say no card. You can play it at any time on your turn or not on your turn. Well, actually, you wouldn't play it on your turn because no one's playing anything against you.
You could just say no to your own action.
Yeah, that's true, I suppose.
I
If
don't
you're trying to
think
get rid of
that's against the
cards,
rule.
it's not very smart. It's a very valuable card. There's only 2 or 3 in the deck. Yeah, the just say no card stops any action, whether it's targeted against you or just any action card that someone plays.
Including just say no.
Including just say no. We've had a chain of just say no's before. I've seen all 3 just say no's come out before, which is always pretty funny. Another popular card is It's My Birthday. You play It's My Birthday, everyone has to give you $2 million.
It's more effective the more players are in the game.
Yeah, exactly. When it's a one-on-one game, it's good, but not great. Or Debt Collector. Target one person and they have to give you $5 million.
It's always a bad card to get hit by.
And then Deal Breaker, the other super powerful card, which is you can steal one full set of properties.
From any player.
From any player. Just one, and it has to be full. You can't just take one card if they only have one card. Has to be a full set. So that one's obviously pretty powerful card to play.
That's one of the cards that is very likely to win you the game.
Yes. There's also Sly Deal, the last card really that I didn't talk about, which is just steal a property from anyone that's not part of a full set. Then you have rent cards, which as if you have a red property and you have a rent card that has the red color in it, you can charge everyone on the board all at once rent for that property, and the more properties you have in a single set, the more money you get for rent.
Sometimes it's good to sit on those rent cards. Other times it's good to make people pay.
Yeah. There's some good strategies around that. We'll talk in our strategies section. Oh, you know what? I actually forgot one, which was Go.
Right.
The Go card, which is draw 2 cards.
Always helpful.
For you Pokemon card game fans out there, it's basically Bill, but in Monopoly form.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a good card too. Now, most of these cards also have a monetary value to them. Meaning, if you wanted to, you could play it as a money card instead of an action card.
Sometimes this will get you out of trouble. Other times it's a complete waste.
Yeah. But what happens if I play it as a money card?
Then it stops being an action card for everyone. So even if you used it to pay somebody, they couldn't play it as an action card.
Exactly. To play an action card, it has to be from your hand. So if it's already on the table, it is no longer able to be used. So if you play it as an action card, the action happens. If you play it as a money card, nothing happens. You just gain that much money. And I guess we'll move on to strategies.
Strategy and the best way to play the game and destroy your friendships.
Destroy
strategies.
Alright, first thing I gotta say. Strategy, keep a lot of money. In small, unmarked bills, non-sequential, no die packs.
They're all
Or all die packs, actually.
They're all sequential, and they're all marked.
Okay, but if they're unmarked, you can pay people less.
They're also not. They're also not bills. They're cards with money printed on the top, and that's actually not even money printed on it. It's just a number and an M.
Yeah. What I'm getting at is try to keep as small denominations as possible.
Yes.
In as many different pieces as
Yeah,
possible.
it's good to have a few bigger denominations, but yes, small denominations are good. The reason for this being, one thing we didn't cover in gameplay, is when someone charges you rent, you have to pay it with whatever you have. Obviously, the first choice typically would be from money. But if you run out of money and you still owe them and you have properties, you got to pay from the properties.
Yep, and this is the main purpose of charging rent in the game, is to get other people's properties because they can't pay you money.
Yeah, that's why sometimes I find it beneficial to start charging people rent or at least play money owing cards such as It's My Birthday early on, because that's a low amount, but they might have just put down 1 or 2 properties. So they might have to give me 1 or 2 of those properties.
Yeah, simply because they didn't put down a money card or they didn't have one to begin with.
Exactly. So it can be beneficial to start charging people early on in the game because you can actually get some properties out of it.
Yeah, so keeping a buffer of money between you and your opponents getting your properties is a great strategy.
Yeah, you don't want to lose your properties because it can be difficult to get them back, especially later in the game where a lot of different sets are showing up. You need to hold on to those potential sets you have and keep them out of the hands of your opponents.
Yep, that is the truth.
Another strategy I find beneficial is not always completing your sets right away. Because there's that one card in that game. There's actually 2 of them. It's called Deal Breaker, where they can steal an entire set.
Yeah, and whenever you have an entire set there, it just makes you a big target.
Exactly. Now, they could steal or forcibly trade cards from uncompleted sets, that's true, but it's much easier to get back a single card or find a different card in the deck, because there are wild cards for each color of property. It's much easier to get a single card than a whole set back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless,
Which is
you
a
have
big setback.
the other Deal Breaker.
Yeah, or you have a just say no, right? If you have a just say no, go nuts on the properties, right? It's kind of a safety net, but keep in mind there are 3 just say no's and 2 deal breakers. So that's another strategy we discussed off the air, is kind of trying to keep track of those high value, high danger cards.
Yeah, if they've been played, you can be a little bit more lax with how you're putting down your cards.
Especially later in the game when the deck is getting low and you haven't seen those cards show up. If you don't have them in your hand, or if you only had one in your hand, you can be fairly certain that they're most likely in someone else's hand already.
And that gets on to the next strategy. Hoard the best cards.
Yes.
If you have 2 deal breakers in your hand, you are sitting on a gold mine.
You're basically sitting on the win right there.
And if you have all 3 of the just say no's, keep those as long as you can.
Yeah, I know I mentioned earlier that getting your hand down to 0 cards, being able to draw 5 cards is pretty valuable. It is, unless you're holding on to some high valued cards. That's something you really want to hold on to until it's absolutely necessary.
Yeah, because the best part about that is, since you're holding them, no one can use them against you.
Exactly. Also, the deal breaker is a good one to hold on to. If your opponents later in the game start building up their sets and they have some complete sets, and all you need really is 1 complete set. You have 3 actions in a turn. Boom, play your 2 deal breakers. You just won the game. Unless they have just say no's, but again, you want to keep track of that.
Yeah, chances are you can get one of them.
Or if you have just say no's in your hand, go ahead and build all the cards you want. And choose wisely when to use them. Don't just throw a just say no down when someone steals, your waterworks. That's not, in this game, a high value card.
Yeah, unless, that means they can win, because
obviously,
underestimating those 2-piece properties has come back to bite you in the past.
Yes. And also, again, that comes back to just watching what cards have been played and what cards haven't yet. There's no sense late in the game playing your deal breaker if you know that someone has the just say no card. You're just throwing away a high value card.
Yeah, at that point, it might be better used as money.
Better used as money, or get some lower damaging cards, like a sly deal where you steal a card, or a force deal where you can take one of their high value cards.
Yeah.
Get them to just say no on those cards so that you can then use your higher value cards unstopped. Unabated, unstopped.
So nothing bad happens to you.
Disstopped. Yeah.
Yeah. So one more strategy that I came up with is prey on the defenseless. If somebody has no money, it's a good idea to charge them for everything they've got.
They're going to have to pay you in whatever properties they have.
Yeah. And if you have a way to charge them multiple times in the same turn, sometimes they'll make that hard choice about splitting up this or splitting up that, which will make it a little easier the next time you charge them.
Yeah.
And if you can charge them 3 times in the same turn, go for it.
Yeah, sometimes for instance, sometimes they'll have properties that are worth, say, $3 million. I've seen it where, in a personal experience, I had 3 properties worth $3 million each. Or, my opponent had 3 properties worth $3 million each. So I played a...
It's my birthday.
Nope.
It's the card you play.
No, it's the other card, the one where you get $5 million. I forgot it already.
Debt collector. So
I played a debt collector, which charges them $5 million. So they have 3 cards at $3 million each. They had to give me $6 million worth of properties. Then I played It's My Birthday and got the other $3 million. So I made them make that hard choice, and then I just kind of screwed with them after and just said, no, give me the other one anyway. So basically, I got $9 million worth of properties in $7 million worth of charges.
Yeah. So that's
really worthwhile.
There's a few ways where you can play this game in a strategic fashion to increase your odds of winning.
Exactly. One other strategy I forgot about was holding on to a full set. If you have a full set in your hand, hold on to it. Whether it's 2 cards or 3, hold on to that if you manage to get it, because remember, you have 3 actions, so you could have 2 to 3 cards in your hand, and on the last turn, if you have 2 sets down, play 1, 2, 3, boom, you just won the game straight from your hand.
Especially if one of those is the everything wild card.
Yes, there's a wild card that fits on everything. There are also wild cards that have 2 different colors on them that could work for, a pink or an orange, a red or a yellow. Those are good wild cards to have. And then, the everything wild card is a good one to hold on to as long as possible. Just so you can, A, keep people from stealing it, and B, it's a great, quick win in the end if you manage to do it right.
So true, so true.
So true. Any other strategies?
That's about all I've got.
That's pretty basic for strategies.
Yeah. Keep
And
lots
again,
of
you know
money, hoard the best cards.
Yeah.
Take advantage of people.
But also,
pay attention.
Sometimes a good strategy is get lots of cards. If you don't have these incredibly high valued cards in your hand, and sometimes even when you do, it can be worthwhile to just clear them as fast as possible and get that 5-card draw at the start of your turn, or keep playing those go cards, get more and more cards in your hand, because that gives you more options, that gives you potentially more money to put into your pot, more properties to get onto your side of the field, and just more options for what to do, and more likelihood you're going to get those high value cards. So that it just might be play the game, read the table, see what's going on, and change your strategy as you go. Don't just subscribe to a single strategy per game.
Adapt as you go, see what cards you're dealt, and play accordingly.
That's it. And you know what? Know, and this goes for all the games, know who you're playing. Play to them. Don't just play to the rules of the game. Play to the opponent, because you're more likely to win that way. If you know them well, you can take them down easily, and lose a friend in the process. It's kind of a win-win-win situation here. Assuming you don't like them. Remember, just assume you don't like your friends based on what we're saying.
Yep.
That's our assumption going into every podcast.
It's the only way to make sure you come out number one.
Devon and I hate each other.
Clearly.
But that's also why we're never number one, because we're both doing the same thing.
All right, so one thing we have to say is, what is the worst card in this game?
Ooh, that's a good question.
And I'm just going to go out and say it. It's a card that we haven't even mentioned once during all of this. It is the hotel card.
I've used that card. It's not terrible.
It's the worst card in the game.
Okay.
It's only useful when you have a full set and have drawn a house.
Yeah.
Then you can play your hotel.
Yeah.
And for it to be useful, you also have to have the matching rent card.
Yeah. It's a lot of very specific things that you need.
By that point, you probably would have won just from putting the hotel in your money pile.
Yeah, almost exclusively in the games we play, houses and hotels just get put down into rent. The only time I've used a house and or a hotel, I can't even think of a specific time I used a hotel, was when I also had the matching rent card in my hand already. Right? Because the houses and hotels work the same way. They increase the rent value. So I put a house down, that puts the rent value up by I think $1 million. No, it adds $3 million to the total rent, which is pretty good. And then a hotel adds $4 million to the total rent.
Still not worth it.
It's worth it if it's in your hand when you have the rent card in your hand.
When the stars align.
Yeah. Or if you have a wild rent card. The wild rent only targets one person rather than everyone around the table.
Though generally,
but also remember, a rent card targets everyone. So in a game with more people, that's worth a lot more. So 3 million in a 4-player game turns into. But
when there's a 4-player game, you're also less likely to have everything line up for you to be able to play a hotel card.
True. But that's what I'm saying. It's very valuable when you get it in the right sequence. If I happen to have a hotel card in my hand, or a house card in my hand, but I don't have the rent card, I don't have whatever I need for it, it's just going to go in my money pile.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen, assuming I'm clearing out my hand. But it is a low value card in my hand. You're right. And so what do you say best card is?
Well, I'm guessing you're saying that is the worst card.
I
Or unless you can come up with another one.
almost want to say that the wild rent card is the worst.
Collect rent from one person at
It's-
any time.
Yeah, it's just not that worth it. Like even the cards where it's low money collection, like It's My Birthday, it's from everyone. When you get into the higher numbers, like 5 million in Debt Collector, that's from one person. But most rent is like 1 to 2 million. That's not that worthwhile unless it's like one of the first rounds of the game.
Yep, but it is valuable when you just can't draw the rent card that matches the one you need, or if you just saw somebody else put that rent card into their money pile.
Yeah, I get that, but for me, it's like, it's just such a waste when, if you look at it in context of what an actual rent card gets you, to me, it just devalues the wild rent card vastly.
Yep, but
That was a terrible sentence, but I'll stick with
that
it.
card has won me a game a couple times.
Yeah, but I guarantee you the house and hotel cards have gotten me a lot of money because I have used them and used them effectively. And
On that rare one occasion.
on that rare one or two occasions, we have played this game dozens of times. So yeah, that's, I mean, in the spirit of being argumentative or having like some content where we're just not agreeing with everything, I will say the wild rent card. It is on the low end for me anyway. Whether it's the worst or not, I don't know, but yeah, I would say that.
All right. And my favorite card, I'm going to have to say, is the Just Say No.
Yeah,
It just feels really good to just say no.
it is possibly the best feeling, or at least one of the best feelings in that game, is to stop someone who thinks they've just pulled one over on you.
Yep. Just talk to the hand.
And it's actually not uncommon for that Just Say No to stop a game-winning move.
It's
And
usually what they're saved for.
that this is one of the reasons why this could be a friendship-ending game. Either the deal breaker steals someone's whole thing and they get really upset, or the Just Say No stops that person from like winning the game.
And then, for their second action, they play the next deal breaker they had.
Yeah.
And then you play
They play
another Just Say
Yeah,
No.
that's happened multiple times. Oh man, yeah. That's even worse. That's even worse.
That's
like
the best feeling.
that's the Monopoly deal equivalent of flipping the table.
Yeah.
Like that's the level. For me, I might even say Sly Deal, which is one of the lower cards, but it's you just steal one property. It's so simple. There's a few of them in the deck, so it's not one of those super high powered, high valued cards. But it can be devastating in the right way.
Yeah, that one's a useful card if you play it early.
Yeah. Even later in the game, because it's not always are you trying to make the same sets as your opponent. Sometimes, for sure. And in those cases, actually, it's even more valuable because if you're both trying to make the same set and you haven't completed it, you can steal that right out of the person's table and complete your set.
And stop them.
You can even win games on the Sly Deal card. So I like this card because it's not the super overpowered card that everyone is going to throw the Just Say No. Like Deal Breaker. Yeah. Everyone's going to throw a Just Say No if they have it on it. But a Sly Deal, you might get some Just Say No's, but it's not, especially later on in the game, it's not so overly powered that people are just going to automatically stop it.
Yeah, that's something that definitely comes up when it's the first card you're playing for your turn. Is you can usually get away with that Sly Deal and then play the two cards in your hand and let you win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, play it so that people may not know exactly what's up your sleeve at the time. That's why I think maybe the Sly Deal for me is maybe not the most powerful card, but maybe my favorite card in that it's just powerful enough that it's not so... People are going to weigh that option. Do I just say no this card or do I not? Deal Breaker, there's no weighing that situation. You're playing the Just Say No. But Sly Deal, oh yeah, but maybe someone's going to play the Deal Breaker. I don't know if I want to do that.
All right.
Yeah.
I was really sure that you were going to say that Go was your favorite card.
I have mixed feelings on Go. I like Go because it's hey, new cards, but it also costs you an action to get those new cards. And I do like the wear down your hand, get 5 cards when you're empty, and the Go card just slows that
Counter-operative
way,
to
way,
that.
way down.
Yes.
And so often when I get Go cards, it's like I don't want to waste it by throwing it into my money pile, because that's free 2 cards. But at the same time, I don't want to get like way behind you, because you're gonna get those 5 cards, which I'm putting a lot of value behind those 5 cards. It's not that valuable, but it is.
It can be.
It can be extremely valuable.
It's because it's 5 cards all at once.
All at once, yeah. Yeah, that would be my. I would say that Slide Deal might be my favorite card. I do get really happy when I see Slide Deal in there.
All right.
Yeah.
Good to know which cards to keep from you.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks. I don't know. That's called. Are you stacking the deck?
What? No.
Oh.
No. This is a game of chance. You can't
Game of
stack a
chance.
deck. It's impossible.
Impossible to stack a deck.
Yep.
You heard it here first. We're breaking years of misinformation. Okay, well, we're going to move on to alternative gameplay.
House rules.
Also, House Rules. That was a great TV show.
Custom rules.
All right. The first, pretty obvious one is get 4 monopolies instead of 3.
Or 2, or 5. Or 1. We should try it with 1. That would be like a horrific game.
Yeah, I feel like before we even get a comfortable hand, you could win just by drawing, a utility and the wild card for utilities?
Well, you could also make it so it has to be a 3 set or something.
Right.
Or any 2 set also needs a wild or something like
So
that.
2
But
2 sets and or 1 3 set.
that could be. That sounds.
Just so you can't win on the first turn.
It sounds dumb, but at the same time, well, you could still get a 3 set on your first turn. But it sounds dumb, but that could be really interesting. Like that would make it so much more hectic and stressful, because at any moment anyone could win. I like that. There could be no warning and then the game's over. It would probably also make them really short games, like 5-minute games.
And make most of the action cards useless.
Yeah, for the most part, yeah. Deal breaker is just cut.
Yeah.
All
Alright, another way to play would be to get a certain amount of valuables at one time.
Oh, I like that.
So you play until somebody has, say, 25 million.
That's cool. That's cool. I like that.
So that could make the money cards a little bit more valuable, and it makes just stealing any properties somewhat helpful towards you winning.
Or you could even make it so that whoever just has the most money, not even properties, but just money, that could be interesting too. That just makes that money pile so I think it would make people very conflicted about that money pile.
Yeah, you'd be more likely to pay with your properties.
Yeah.
If you didn't have to spend your money.
Exactly, but that also gives you less options for earning money.
Yeah.
So that would be an interesting way. Yeah, I like that. That's a cool idea. Different objectives.
Yep. The next one I have is you draw 1 card and you get to take 1 card from one of your opponents from their hand.
Yeah, we've added this as a possible house rule for a lot of games. That added strategy of stealing cards from someone else.
Yeah.
And as a normal every turn action. I really like it.
Because just when they thought their hand was safe, they got back in the water.
Yeah. That could be cool. Or you could also do simple things that would really change the game, like no hand limit. Or max 2 actions. but you have to do 2 actions. Like you could also put a minimum, like no, minimum 2 actions, maximum 3 actions, or 2 actions only, but you have to do them. Like things like that would really change up the flow of the game.
Yep.
And it would definitely change up strategies. That'd be interesting. You'd also never lose your hand in that case as well.
Yep.
You'd always have your 5 or your 7 cards at the start and 5 at the end. That'd be interesting too.
Most likely.
Yeah.
And then the last one I have is an extra option on your turn, which is you discard 3 of your cards to charge rent normally for your property.
I like that a lot. Because getting those gosh darn rent cards is so frustrating. I like that. That's a good idea.
I mean, it's still pretty costly because that's basically taking 3 of the cards in your hand to do one thing.
It is. Or you could even attach a monetary value to it. You could be like spend
$6 million to charge rent.
Or that's kind of weird because then you're literally spending money to make money. So
that's
that
what you gotta do.
Yeah, but
I think that's the saying. You gotta spend money to make money.
I think you have to spend friends to make money.
There you go. Discard your friends to charge rent.
Which kind of is that way. You know what? I like yours a lot. The discard 3 cards to charge rent. I like that. As a wild rent, like targeting one person, or as a...
I didn't decide on that. I would assume
you could do it
regular.
like discard 2 cards as a wild and 3 cards as a broad rent.
Right, just so you have more options.
Yeah. Or you could just get rid of the options and just say 3 cards, rent from everyone. That'd be kind of cool. That'd be really cool. Or discard, cards up to X value. Like it could be like, because those Just Say No cards are worth, I think it's 8 and 10 million?
I believe so.
The blue is 8, I think. And
they're worth a lot.
The purple is 10. So with Deal Breaker being 10, Just Say No is 8 or something like that. So it'd basically be like discard $10 million worth of cards from your hand to charge rent.
Yeah.
You could do something like that. That'd make it even harder. Like if you just had regular cards, you'd have to discard upwards of 5 cards. At which case it's not that valuable. It's worth workshopping. It's worth workshopping and trying it out. I like that. That's a cool idea. Because, man, I hate rent cards. That's my other least favorite card is just rent cards just because they're too specific.
Yeah. You need this color or that color, and your opponent is always the one who has them.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you have that rent card and you have one property of that color and it's just not that worth it, so you hold on to it hoping to get more of that color and you just never do, so you've just been wasting space in your hand with this stupid rent card. I hate
worse,
rent cards.
You say, you know what, I'm just gonna play it, and then you draw the other 2.
Yeah, I've done that where it's like I have Park Place and you wait and never Boardwalk, so it's like, okay, I'm just gonna charge the rent on it and then Boardwalk is the very next turn. It's like, really? Yeah. That's like $6 million.
Yep.
From everybody. Yeah.
Just nuts.
Yeah.
That is Monopoly Deal.
That's Monopoly Deal in a nutshell. I think what we're going to do is we're going to add a bit of a segment here. It's not really a segment. Where we're going to add some ratings. Now, we've said it from before, from episode 1, 2, and 3. We are not a review podcast. We're not reviewing these games. If we're talking about the game, we already like it. It's on our like list. We play it. But we want to rate it just to make it maybe easier for you all to maybe gauge if you want to play it or not. But we also want to go a little bit original, a little bit off the beaten path with our ratings. So we're going to rate the podcast. We're going to... 10 out of 10!
There is not a number high enough to rate how good this podcast is.
They're still working on the highest number, and then that's what our number will be. No, we're going to rate the games based on 4 different categories and then an overall rating. So, learning difficulty, the strategy level, so how much strategy is involved in playing, chance level, so how much chance is involved in playing the game, the likelihood of post-game friendship, so how likely are you to still be friends with your friends after the game, and then an overall score. So we didn't go with a score of like number scores. We're going with like objects or ideas or experiences that kind of match the level of the rating that we are giving each category.
Yeah,
Except
so-
for the likelihood of post-game friendship, we kind of did it a range because that's, unless we want to change that.
Range is fine.
Okay.
We'll change it next time.
So
Or
we each
catch it
gave-
in post.
We were having too much. Yeah, we were having too much fun with the ratings, so we each are giving our own. So for me, for learning difficulty, I rate this game a potato.
And for learning difficulty, I rate this game a sweet potato.
Basically, Devon thinks it's slightly harder to learn this game than I do, but we both think it is a very easy game to learn.
That's what I said.
So a potato. That's what I said. The strategy level, for me, it's a cake bake. Baking a cake.
Yeah, and for me, I think it involves about as much strategy as one would need when jumping a fence.
Which you would think is low, but for Devon, that's fairly high.
Yeah, you gotta plan where you're gonna land. And check out for, like, bear traps on the other side.
Yeah, you know what? I ran into that a couple times as a kid. Bear traps at the bottom of a fence.
Tough delivering papers.
Now the chance level, for me, it's what I need is on sale. Basically, you walk into a store, you need to buy something, and it's on sale. What are the odds of that? So that's what I think is the chance level in
Yeah.
Monopoly Deal.
And I'm saying you have some control over your own destiny. Maybe not all the control that you need, but you can get yourself there.
I also have control over my own density.
Like the vision?
Yeah.
Cool.
I was just making fun of the mistake you made in the word. Yeah.
Density, destiny, same thing.
My density destiny. All right, now the next rating will be the likelihood of post-game friendship. How likely are you to remain friends with your friends?
I definitely think that this is a 3 to 7 game.
Yeah, Devon gave it a pretty big arc from anywhere from 3 to 7. Not very likely to keep your friends to very likely to keep your friends, or highly likely. I put it at a 4 to 6, mid-range. The 6 is like, you know what, this is just a fun game. But the 4 is like, yeah, but you just deal broke half my properties.
Yeah.
I don't like you anymore.
It's like, I just wanted to steal your stuff, but you just said no.
Yeah.
So I tried again, and you said no again. So I used something else to steal something else, and you said no again.
Exactly.
And
So-
then I balled my hand into a fist.
And now we're not friends. And for the overall score, I say, it's fun. The game is fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, that's our rating section.
And maybe
of the
even
podcast.
continue to enjoy it.
That's not part of this, Devon. We're rating it. No, you're right. I continue to enjoy this game as well.
We'll find out next time.
Next time on our follow-up podcast, do I still enjoy that board game where we cover Monopoly Deal? We haven't
See you in
played
10
this.
years.
See you in 10 years on our follow-up. No, let's talk about it. I'm going to be 43 when I'm still playing board games. And I'm so happy about that, actually.
Yeah, I mean, could be worse. You could be playing some sort of virtual finger game.
Don't we play those now?
I don't know. I just made up the concept. Could be anything.
A virtual finger game? That's
Yeah.
like... This is great for a audio podcast. All right, guys. See ya.
Devon and Steve wiggle their fingers in different direction.
What if it's the same direction? You'll never know. We're not recording this visually.
They are simulating what a finger game would be. They don't understand what's going on, and they stop.
But who's winning?
I don't know.
I don't know in this finger game.
I don't even know what a futuristic finger game is.
One of the oldest games out there is a Chinese finger trap.
I thought that was a trap.
Yeah, but it's a game.
Traps aren't games. They're traps.
If it was a trap, the goal of it would be to, like, stop an army. I don't think a finger trap is going to stop an army.
Stop them from using their hands.
Yeah, but not their arms.
Can't hold a sword with your arm.
You specifically have to hold the sword with two hands in front of you. Guess where your fingers are? Right in front of you. Unless they're doing the game behind their back. That'd be good. If you wanted to stop an army, just start one of those hashtag challenges where it's like, can you get out of a Chinese finger trap behind your back? And then you just basically tied an entire army's hands behind their back.
Yep. And then you live on continually or invade, depending on which side you're on.
Yeah, well, if you just leave them, I think you could be charged with war crimes for starving an entire army to death.
You don't need your hands to eat,
You need your hands to prepare the food.
but you don't need them to eat.
No, but if they can't prepare the food, they starve to death.
But you don't need your hands to eat.
No. I
There
will
you go.
concede that one point. But I don't think...
See, you're missing the point here. You don't need your hands to
No,
eat.
I got that point. You're missing the point that if you can't make the food, you can't eat the food because the food's not made.
But you don't need your hands to eat. You can eat just fine without hands.
I get that. But just listen. Just hold on. I know you want to say some words. I'm pretty sure I know what those words are.
Is it
just
you
hold-
don't need your hands to eat?
Just hold on to those
Because
words
that's what
for
I was
a
gonna
minute.
say.
Just for a minute while I explain. My name is Joe Biden, and I'm a soldier. Okay?
That doesn't sound right.
I just made up the name. It's a random name.
All right.
I just went into my internal name generator and came up with Joe Biden.
All right.
I am Joe
I
Biden.
understand. Hello, Joe.
Hi. I'm a soldier.
Wait, are you a G.I. Joe?
What? I'm a Joe B. Iden. And I just got this Chinese finger trap sent to me by my enemy. Oh, that's nice. Maybe they're trying to make amends. Oh, it comes with a paper. It says, try this hashtag challenge to get out of this finger trap with your hands behind your back. Oh, let me try this. Oh no! My hands are stuck and I can't get out. Well, I'm hungry. How am I gonna eat? I don't need my hands to eat. But wait, all the food's in the fridge, in packages, and it's raw, and it's frozen. What will I do? Oh, I'm so hungry. I'm Joe B. Iden, and I'm dead.
You shouldn't have kept all your food in the fridge. Have some fresh vegetables. You don't need to store those in the fridge.
They're in the crisper. I can't eat soggy vegetables. They need to be crisp vegetables. I'm not a maniac. I'm not
Sounds
a
like
savage.
you were too picky to live because you don't need your hands to live.
Shopping day was tomorrow. It was tomorrow. But now I'm dead. I was down to the last bit of food, but I had some chicken. I just hadn't cooked it yet. I could have survived.
Sounds to me like you should have balanced your game life and your real life a little better before you played with that Chinese finger trap. You got your chores done.
It was I don't have chores. I'm an adult. I just have my life, which is a big chore. But I saw this little simple game and an invitation from my sworn enemy to say, hey, play this game, try this challenge. I said, okay. It's a very simple thing. It's a tube. This can't take long. And I'm dead. I'm Joe B. Iden.
And I'm Devon Body.
Thanks for listening.